On this week's episode, we're joined by Tyler Simmonds. Tyler grew up in North Preston, and from a young age, he has been living with mental illness. After struggling to find a way to voice what he was feeling, Tyler decided to open up and post online a short film he had made describing his experiences with anxiety and depression. He received a lot of amazing feedback, and with that, he decided he could be a voice for helping others living with mental illness. Tyler has since had a book published about mindfulness, and he's created the Still Alive Foundation, which is aimed at helping others living with mental illness and reducing suicide rates. Among other things he currently has on the go, Tyler just released an art collaboration called Boys Don't Cry with friend of the show, Peter Hemsworth AKA BZLY. Listen in to hear it all.
I was the same old me with the same old blues. I was the same old me with the same old blues.
All right, we're back for another episode of Brand New View. I'm back with my co-host, Mr. Ben Brammer. How you doing, Ben?
Very well, thank you.
Awesome.
Very
Good
excited to be here.
Awesome. Hey, you know how much I love when you're excited to be here.
Yes.
Good stuff.
It's very good.
We are joined today by Tyler Simmonds. How you doing, Tyler?
I'm good.
Awesome. Glad you're here. We're very excited for you to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
We're excited to have you sit down so we can chat away and learn about you and your story. I'm excited to learn about the Still Alive Foundation and other things like that. So, Ben, I think we'll jump right into it.
Please.
So, you grew up in North Preston.
Yeah.
What was it like growing up there?
It was great. Because everyone in the community, it's like a big family. I love that aspect of North Preston. Like, if anything were to go wrong, like if my car were to break down, if anything were to happen, I can just go to anyone's house and ask for help. That's what it's like there. Like, everyone's just looking out for each other. Even people that come into the community. I feel like because of what the media says about North Preston, a lot of people think that, oh, it's a scary place that we can't go into. But if you guys were to go to North Preston and your car were to break down or something, people would just come rushing out and helping. Like, that's how it is there. It's really just a place of family and a lot of positivity.
Yeah.
Like, I don't go to church much. I never go to church, actually. But I went to church last weekend, and I took my girlfriend there. We went there with my with my parents, and I was just reminded about how positive everyone is in North Preston. Like, everyone was like they didn't know her, and they were just coming up to her, like asking her where she's from, and like hugging her and stuff, and it's just so welcoming.
So you get a true sense of community. I mean, you think about neighborhoods now. I mean, a lot of the times you could go weeks without seeing your neighbor.
Yeah.
And when you speak of that, I think of like the true values of a community and a neighborhood, what goes into that, and we may have kind of lost that on a larger scale in other areas.
And with North Preston, I really feel like a lot of it is because we've been through a lot together.
It's true, yeah.
Just the history of North Preston, it's a lot we had to get through together. So we're always just looking out for each other. Me being a mental health advocate and doing these talks that I do and stuff, and putting myself out there was definitely scary for me, because we didn't really talk about mental health in North Preston, and I feel like a lot of that is mainly because all of the stuff that we already deal with, and we're like, oh, let's not even just really pay attention to this illness that we have, because it's just a whole nother thing that we have to deal with, and that people are going to start judging us because of, and stuff like that. So growing up, it was me being around these amazing people that were positive and looked out for me all the time. Like, if I was in school and someone wanted to fight me, I could always count on the
You got
kids
some
from
back.
the neighborhood. Yeah.
The community.
Yeah. But at the same time, it was kind of like I had to make sure that I held myself in a certain way and not show weakness. Well, what society tells us is weakness. And,
Perceived weakness.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which was really hard for me. Yeah.
And you mentioned like maybe the prospect of, encountering a fight at school. What was school like?
School
Did you go
was,
Cole Harbor?
yeah, I went to Cole Harbor.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cole Harbor and then Cole Harbor High.
I went to Cole Harbor High, and
Okay.
for junior high, I went to Ross Road.
What about elementary?
Elementary, I went North Preston.
North Preston.
North
Okay.
Preston.
I'm not
That's
as
about-
familiar. Across.
No, I wouldn't be familiar with that junior high or, North Preston Elementary. The name's familiar.
It's Nelson Winder.
Oh
It's
yeah.
called.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was interesting when I think back, like going to Nelson Winder, being around all of the community, because it was just kids from the community that went there. And I grew up with them, and those were all my closest friends. We went to Ross Road, and Ross Road, it was still a lot of kids from the community, but then I started to encounter other cultures and stuff, and it was interesting. It was a lot of fights. It was just a lot of
Animosity, I'm picturing.
Well, I
Yeah.
remember like a lot of junior highs all
Yeah, a
over the
lot of
city.
junior
I
highs.
went to St. Agnes Junior High. There was like a fight every week.
yeah.
Everyone get out to the soccer
Yeah.
field after school, and you could see
Such an
like from the
interesting-
school windows there'd be the hill and then the field, so everyone's running up the hill to get to the
Yeah.
top where the field is.
Such a power struggle.
Hormones are going
Yeah.
wild around
Oh
that
my
time.
gosh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, in Ross Road, I was like, that's when I started to feel anxious and started feeling like, oh, what's wrong with me? Like everybody else can talk to people and kind of be social, and I was just like, yeah, this is weird to me. I don't want to. It's scary to me.
You weren't running up that hill to see the fight.
I was not.
No.
No.
Hey, I was right there with you. I was right there with you at the bottom.
I was watching from the safety of the classroom. Thank you very
Classroom,
much.
what are you talking about?
Yeah, and in junior high, I started. That was when I think that's when most people started like wanting to be cool and stuff, and I was like figuring out what girls liked and stuff, and
I'm still trying.
yeah, I think a lot of us are, but at a certain point, I was like, man, I'm not gonna figure this out. I'm not gonna figure out how to become social. I just really don't fit in with these people. There were people from my community that I definitely fit in with because I grew up with them since I was like a baby. Some of the people, but it was tough. And getting to high school, it just got really weird. Like Cole Harbor High, going to school, it was fights all the time, and it was like this divide because I went to school with kids from Eastern Passage, and it was like this Eastern Passage versus North Preston rivalry thing, like but it was weird because I played football, and before that I played hockey, so I was friends with some of these kids from Eastern Passage, but these people from North Preston, that's my family. So I'm like looking at my teammates fighting my family. I'm like, oh, this sucks. Like,
Better pull up a seat next to Mark in the classroom.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I'm getting a sense that you were the type of person that you were friends with everyone. Everyone kind of felt comfortable coming to you.
yeah, I was cool with everybody.
Friend of the people.
Yeah, and like I would never go up to people. They would come to me because I was just like always staying to myself, and it was just weird. I was just like seeing all of this like fighting and arguing going on. I'm like, man, I just want to stay out of this. And it was pretty isolating. So I didn't really spend too much time with those people outside of school. I had like a couple of friends that I would spend time with. And I had a lot of anxiety and depression that I was dealing with, that I was trying to figure out. So it was just, if I wasn't hanging out with those friends, which was rare that I was hanging out with those friends, I was just trying to figure out my brain and figure out who I was. It was a lot of
Trial and error.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of it. And it was a lot of me just spending time by myself in my bedroom, trying to figure myself out, and people being like, "Oh, why aren't you ever coming to parties? Why aren't you ever hanging out with us?" And in my mind, I'm like, I kind of just don't want to. Like, I just want to.
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah.
Were you? Did you kind of keep it all to yourself, or were you able to confide in anyone while you were growing up?
I kept it all to myself until the end of grade 12. And keeping it to myself, it was just like eating me alive. And then at the end of grade 12, I remember I went to the library and I actually typed in, like, why am I always sad and why am I afraid to talk to people? And then all of these things came up saying social anxiety and depression. And I just printed off a bunch of forms and articles and stuff and showed them to my parents, and my parents were like, we don't even know what this stuff is, but we trust that you feel this way, and we'll take you to the doctor and we'll see what's going on. And that's when everything started to get better. Yeah.
I find it very powerful that you are so aware. I think a lot of folks struggle searching for those answers or what's going wrong for years.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like you were at least cognizant of the fact that you had a lot going on and you wanted to address it. I can semi-relate. I mean, I can remember feeling very anxious in certain situations in high school, and I'd look around, and this again ties back into some of the school discussion we've had, but I'd look around and think everyone's fine. Why am I not? What's going on?
Yeah.
They seem to be okay with going to the party or going to watch the fight, and I was like, something in me is telling me this isn't right, or this isn't what I'd like to be doing. So very powerful stuff that you were able to spot it head on.
Yeah, it's helped me a lot. I think what's helped me like the most maybe is that I could look at myself and just say, yeah, something's wrong and it's okay. You can fix it. You can work on it. Because a lot of people, I think they kind of get the sense that something's going wrong, or they don't like a behavior that they have or something, and they're just like, oh, I'm just gonna ignore it,
Dust it under the rug.
yeah.
It'll go away.
Yeah, but it doesn't go away.
No, it don't.
Yeah.
No.
Honestly, you have to first figure out what these emotions are and then tackle them.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to suggest, okay, I've got a lot of these emotions, and
Yeah.
it's time to sort them out.
Yeah.
That goes back to society thinking we're weak if we do so, but again,
Exactly.
perceived
Well,
perception.
it's just so important. Sorry. Just so important to identify. I mean, you hear about people who have diseases and the doctors aren't sure what it is. And it's just so important for that person to find out what they have. And then when you look at it on the other side, when it's mental health, a lot of people just don't want to know. Don't want to know. And it's like, that's the first step. You've got to be okay with identifying that you may have some sort of chemical imbalance or something like that going on. And it's not weakness. It's so hard. And it's easy for me to say I'm not in that position. I mean, I know I'm a stubborn person, so maybe if I was, I would just ignore it myself.
Yeah.
But you can't.
No.
You're
It comes down to it. What are you talking about?
Just a little bit. But I'm sure we could discuss this till the end of time. What did you get up to as soon as school was over?
Did you have any sort of plan of what you wanted to do?
I just wanted to play football. That was my life in high
What position
school.
were you?
I was cornerback.
Yeah.
Were you a pretty good football player back in the day?
I was good.
Oh, yeah.
If I had a little bit more height, I feel like I probably could have made it.
Could have
to
been
the
a
NFL.
contender.
Yeah?
Maybe.
I like
If I had a
this.
little
What's your
bit
40?
more height. My 40. I ran a 4.5,
Damn.
Wow.
That's good.
That
which
is-
I wasn't proud of because
Fair.
I felt like I should have.
You break 4.4?
Yeah. Because I was
Yeah,
a
but there's like
defensive
5%
back,
that can
you
do
know.
that.
It's an off day.
Yeah.
It's thick air or something.
So-
Humidity.
What you watch a ton of football. I'll ask you, Mark. What attributes do you consider important to be a successful cornerback?
Cornerback, you've got to be a student of the game. I'm a 49ers fan, so I was, I hated Richard Sherman for a long time, and now obviously I respect the hell out of him because he knows what's coming almost every time or has a very
he plays
good
on
idea.
the D side of the ball, but probably knows offenses better than most coordinators.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's someone who doesn't know a lick about football.
And you got to be physical. You can't be
That
scared
was
to get
me, by the way.
physical.
Yeah.
What I love about defensive back, like I've realized that I learned a lot about playing, like while I was playing that position, I learned a lot about just strategizing and I realized how that I just love figuring out what other people are doing and kind of just like working around it, and that's how I kind of use, like I use it in a lot of things that I do. Like if I'm trying to do a talk at some place or something, or I'm trying to get people to see certain sides of me, like you have to be like strategic about the sides of yourself that you're showing, and I can kind of relate that to defensive back. Like you have to, like what I used to do is just I used to have like these different techniques of how I would even just line up with the wide receiver, like kind of pretending that I'm not aware of what they're going to do, but I know exactly what they're going to do, and just pick the ball off. And that's so fun to do, like pretending. I think it's like I read the 48 Laws of Power. I don't know if you guys read that, but
I've seen it, but I've not read it yet.
But it's like when I read that book, I was like, oh, this is a lot of how people, like when people are playing sports or even like UFC fighters and stuff, like they use a lot of these techniques, like
Cat and mouse, like
don't let them know that you're prepared. Don't like all these different little things.
I mean, sometimes if you're
Deception.
going, deception, will you almost show as if you're giving them something when you're really not? That kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. Like with a lot of the stuff that I do now, it's not like this. I don't really have room to do a whole lot of that because it's really
gotcha, crowd.
it's because it's really just me just being genuine with everybody.
Yeah.
But that's also a strategy. Like the biggest thing that I tell people is if you want to get any type of success in this type of thing that I do, just bear it all and be extremely vulnerable. But that's hard for people.
It is tough to embrace vulnerability.
Yeah.
It feels
Ego's a powerful thing.
great.
Oftentimes our pride and our ego gets in the way, I would suggest. I mean, I'm obviously not an expert, but why is it that folks struggle with being vulnerable? Well, they don't want to look a certain way because it's perceived as weakness.
Yeah.
So they throw up the ego wall. I don't need to do that. What are you talking? I'm not even vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's like, can you at least try?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing that we don't. I mean, Ben
I don't
and
struggle with it now.
We have no problem being vulnerable.
Yeah.
But so we I think
You
we
can
have
see how many
trouble
times my heart beats.
He's teared up multiple times, and he lets us know on the pod. But yeah, I think we just
What's wrong
struggle
with that,
kind of
Mark?
seeing that. Would you stop talking over me before I forget what I'm going to say? I think we struggle with seeing that perspective of people who can't be vulnerable, who just physically don't have it in them. But they
Are you
do
speaking for
exist.
you and I?
We struggle understanding that.
For sure. I mean, I look at it because it's so easy. I'm like, why? And again, that's probably a wrongdoing of my own. I look at others that struggle with it, and I'm like, why aren't you able to, express something? And to some, it may be very difficult. For us, it's quite easy. So if I'm going to want them to appreciate my standpoint on it, then I'll appreciate everyone else's. So for some, it may not be easy. So just keep trying, slowly but steadily. You'll share a bit more. I mean, it's not like I'm doing anything negative with the information you share. So I'm only trying to help.
No blackmail whatsoever. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
So did you end up playing any football after high school?
I went to St. X for a year.
St. X for a year. Did you play?
I played like 2 games. I was a rookie, so.
Yeah.
And we had some really good corners when I was
X is
there.
good.
Yeah.
X always has a good program.
Yeah. So, you said you mentioned that you spent 1 year at St. X.
Yeah.
And
while I was there, it was a lot of partying and just football. That's basically what it was. And at a certain point, my depression was just becoming too much, and my anxiety. So I remember at the end of the year, I was just thinking, like, what do I really want to do? And I thought about how I love art, how I love art so much, and have always wanted to do like filmmaking and stuff like that, but haven't tried it.
mm-hmm.
But a part of me was like, man, just try it. And I actually, the next year, I went to Recording Arts Canada in Toronto to do audio, and I was like doing some like music production and stuff like in my spare time while I was at St. X that I didn't really let anyone hear, but I was really into that, so I went to Recording Arts Canada. While I was there, realized that's not what I want to be doing. So I came back to Halifax, and I was like, I'm just going to try this filmmaking and stuff. I was at work one day, and I remember walking around. I worked in stores at QE2 hospital, so I would basically just deliver supplies to the different nurses on the floors, and the pay wasn't that bad, but it wasn't fulfilling at all. Just delivering stuff. And one day I was like, I'm quitting this. Like, I want to create things. So I took my paycheck and I went to Henry's and I bought a camera.
Shout out Henry's.
Yeah. And I told everyone that I'm a photographer, and I quit my job. And nice. I just started doing photography. I started doing like event photos. I did some fashion photos for like fashion models, and it was fun.
Did you kind of just learn on the go?
Yeah, just teaching myself. I bought some books from Chapters and just sat and started studying things. And then I realized how good the video function on my camera was. I was like, oh, I can start doing like the filmmaking that I've been wanting to do. And the very first time I did like this short film, it was when I went through this breakup, and it was a really tough breakup. and I was pissed because she did some things that was pretty messed up.
Unforgivable.
Yeah.
We already know.
And I was just like, I gotta get this out some way. So I just set up my camera, and just these things just started coming to me, and that was when I made my very first like short film, and I just put like this anger that I was feeling into it, and I was just wearing my heart on my sleeve. And it was more so like this abstract type of film. I wasn't just coming out saying, oh, this is why I'm making it. And then I put it on Facebook, and I didn't expect anyone to say anything about it. I thought people were going to be like, what is this? But I got so many messages and comments. People were like, oh, you're so talented. I love this so much. And I'm like, what? Really? Then I was like, I just got to keep going with this. So I kept doing like these abstract type of short films, and then I started doing like promotional videos for people. Got into music videos, started doing weddings, different events.
And did you just kind of network with people you knew? Just kind of grew.
Yeah.
Word of mouth kind of thing.
Yeah. And as I was doing that, I was still dealing with trying to figure out what was going on in my head. Like, still dealing with a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. But this outlet was like therapy for me. So I just kept doing it. And I started to realize that I wanted to do more. Like that there was even bigger way that I could express myself and try to impact people. So I remember I got this book. It's called Life Without Limits by Nick. I forget how to say his last name. But he has no limbs. And yeah. And I read that book, and then I started watching his videos, and I'm like, this guy's amazing. Like, he was like bringing me out.
Didn't he climb? I don't know if it's Everest, but he climbed some mountain.
Yeah, I think he did. And he could swim. He could do all these different. Like, I can't even swim. And I was like looking at this guy with no limbs swimming. I'm like,
that's
man.
crazy.
I can run a 4.5, but I can't swim.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, this guy is helping me out of my depression. I don't even know him. And I'm like, I wish I could do that. Help people in this way. And my depression got a lot worse because I was losing my granddad, and I went through another breakup at the same time that I lost my granddad. It was crazy. I remember I was on the way to see my granddad at the hospital, and I was on the phone. I remember saying, yeah, I'm literally on my way to see my granddad right now. Like, he's not doing well. And she was like, if you hang up, we're done. And I'm like,
jeez,
that's crazy. So I just hung up and went to the hospital, and my granddad passed. And my depression just went so low. And that person afterwards tried to contact me, and I'm like, no, I can't talk to somebody that's like this. And I just was in this really dark place, and I'm like, I don't even want to be here anymore. I remember I was just feeling numb. I didn't feel sadness, didn't feel happiness, was just numb. And I was like, why am I even here? And I just tried to end it. And that was when, even though that was like the darkest moment of my life, that was the thing that changed everything, because I made it through that. And I feel like it's something that just happens to you when you're so close. And I really felt like I was not gonna be here anymore. And the author of that book, Life Without Limits, he also talks about how he had a suicide attempt and how his life just changed afterwards. It's like something just clicked in my head. I was like able to see things from this different perspective instead of just being extremely sad about everything. I was like, wait, I can look at things differently, because is it really this bad? Like, I was trying to just not be here anymore. Is it really that bad? And I remember just thinking that, and I'm like, no, it's not. Like, things can get better. Why am I trying to end it? And then all of these other thoughts started to come, like, oh, I can change. I can become better. I can do so much now. Like, I want to be a public speaker, even though it's the scariest thing in the world to me. But I can do it. It's like this thing just clicked in my head. Like,
You hit the reset button.
yeah. I want to have like a legit film that I can be proud of with a crew and stuff, and touch people's lives with it. I wanted to have a book, like all of these different things I was thinking back then, like, and it's crazy, I just started doing them. I just like when I left my job to become a photographer and a videographer, and I was like, oh, I'm a videographer now, or I'm a photographer now. I did it with these things. I'm like, okay, I'm a public speaker now.
Yeah.
I haven't done it before, but I'm that now. And my mind just, it's like this thing just kept switching in my mind, like, oh, I am that. I did my first talk in East Preston, I remember, and it was nerve-wracking. I was terrified. But afterwards, it felt so good. And I got more of that feeling like, oh, I can do anything? What? Like, this, like, I was most scared of public speaking. So afterwards, when people came up to me, it was like, oh, that was so good. And, like, people were crying and stuff. I'm like, I can do anything, man. Like, I can jump out of a plane. Like, all these things that I'm afraid of, I can do them now. And since then, it was just go, go, go. I remember I was talking to my mom, like, about all of these ideas that I had. I was like, Mom, I'm going to have a TED Talk. I'm going to have a film, an award-winning film. I'm going to have a book that can help people and stuff. And at the time, something in my head was like, you can do it. But another part of my mind was like, man, you can't actually do this stuff.
Doubt was starting to creep in a bit.
Yeah. But that other side to me that I describe to people sometimes as a bit crazy, it was just overpowering everything. It was like, man, just do it. You're gonna do it. And then, like, a couple years after my first talk, like, I think it was like 2 years after my first talk, like, one of the organizers for TEDx contacted me and stuff, and it was just confirmation that, oh, I said I'm going to just be this person, and I believe that I was that person, so that's how it all happened. It took a lot of work, of course, but for me, it just had to start with me being like, okay, I'm this person now, and that's that. There's no going back. Yeah.
I like it.
I love it. You decided, and then you're
Yeah.
just like, there's nothing, like, there was no mention of competition. There's no mention of, am I going to be good at this? Or like, when you're
No.
explaining your story, it was, I'm simply going to do this. And
Yeah.
it's because of the feeling that I
Yeah.
never want to end.
Like, competition was
yourself.
Yeah, I don't even like. It's been years since I thought of other people as competition.
Yeah.
I never think of other people as competition. I just think
I love
of
that.
people as other people that are trying to do things in my field, and
So healthy.
yeah,
Mm.
I
I've seen your TED Talk, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
a couple times.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I just thought I'd mention it
Yeah.
went. It
But-
went very well, in my opinion.
Thank you.
As
Yeah,
nerve-wracking as
I
those
had
could
a
be.
I had a really good time doing that. A lot of preparation went into it, and I got a standing ovation. I was supposed to stay on the stage when they gave me the standing ovation. I just walked off.
Peace.
Yeah, I was just so nervous. But it felt so good. And to go back to the competition thing, so many people in this city, they probably don't even realize that I was like sending them messages and or like emails before I did all these talks and stuff. But I was reaching out to everyone just because, and some of the people I actually met up with, and I was just picking people's brains. Like I met up with different filmmakers, different photographers, different public speakers, like different organizations around the city. And I probably was so annoying because they were like, this guy hasn't done anything, and he's saying that he wants to be this public speaker or this filmmaker. But I just had to let go of that ego that was telling me to do it by myself, and that was telling me that these other people are supposed to be like competition or something like that. I was like, I just want to learn from them. And I learned a lot from a lot of different people. And some people didn't respond to me back then. And then it came for full circle, and I ended up like at events with them speaking or something.
Yeah.
And I just find that so cool that I didn't even let that affect me, like when they didn't get back to me and stuff, because I could have just been like, I don't know, held this type of hate out for those people or something, and acted egotistical and arrogant when I met them or something. But I was just like, no, they just didn't get it, because a big part of me was like, I didn't get it. I was just like, I'm just gonna try this stuff, man. Like, yeah.
I envy that so much in a person. Just the sheer ability to suggest. School isn't for me, like as you suggested, I need to do this.
Yeah.
I might not be a professional at it, but
Yeah.
guess what? I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And now look at you.
Yeah.
That's so awesome, man.
And you weren't going to take no for an answer.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that, you're a big believer of affirmations, telling yourself, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to speak at this TED Talk. How important do you think that is to tell yourself positive things as opposed and keeping that negativity away?
That's so important. It's helped me so much. Just speaking things into existence. Like, I feel like with everything, you have to say, okay, I can do this. It's like if you're playing a sport or something, like, you have to be like, okay, we're going to win this game. It's similar to if I'm doing a talk, I'm like, if I have these times where I feel like I'm not good enough, where I feel depressed, where I'm like, man, why would anyone want to hear me speak? But right before that talk, I make sure that I'm like, okay, it's almost like I'm putting on that like superhero cape.
Yeah.
Okay, this is me.
Looks great, by the way.
Yeah, it's like, this is me, and nothing is stopping me. Maybe I'll stutter over a few words. Maybe I'll say the wrong thing, but so what? Like, this is me. This is what I do. In that, I think you need that confidence to be successful at things. You gotta
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's nice to remind ourselves every now and then, you've done things like this before and it's made you anxious, it's made you feel a certain way, but guess what? You made it.
Yeah.
You got through it, right?
Yeah.
You were able to do it. That was a huge lesson that I was able to share with the kids this past winter. Coaching. I mean, we'd have a couple kids that I find it's probably getting younger and younger that they were dealing with some anxious feelings, whether it was a big game or there's certain members of their family in the crowd, whatever the case may be, and they would suggest, I'm nervous. I was like, well, think back to all the other times that you were nervous.
Yeah.
You were able to overcome that. You were able to get through it.
Yeah.
You're able to talk about it here today. So you have to. It's super difficult though, I find, to constantly remind yourself of that during the activity.
Is.
So
Well, you got to be cognizant.
don't say my word. That's my word.
That's my fucking word.
That's my fucking word. No, but great job. That's really
Thanks,
cool
man.
stuff.
Thanks.
I think it's sorry. I was just gonna say it's very powerful is my word today.
Yeah, and especially when there's going to be setbacks as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So that aspect as well to be like, all right, this is okay.
Yep.
You learn from it and you keep going.
Yeah.
And you keep that confidence going.
Otherwise, it could eat at you. And I mean, from a business standpoint, that's only going to cripple you, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to tell yourself it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So that affirmation is, I think it's a quality that most entrepreneurs share.
One example that I use with people a lot, I didn't say it on a podcast before, but I remember, do you know who Jack.org is? Yeah, I was trying to be a speaker for them at one point. Like years ago when I first started doing public speaking, I was like seeing these Jack.org speakers, and I'm like, oh, this could be great for me. And it was before I did any speaking, really. I think I just did that one talk in East Preston. But I went through like this whole training that they had and stuff, and I did like this talk in front of my laptop while this other guy was on the other end just watching me. I got dressed up for it and everything, and at the end he's like, yeah, man, sorry, but we can't have you as a speaker this year. And I'm like, man, my dreams are crushed. And I was so upset, like, man, why am I not good enough? Like, is my story not good enough? My delivery, like, what's wrong with me? Like, it went back to that. And then I had this moment where I'm like, you can't let this stop you. Like, just do your own thing. And I just went and went and went. And I was like, maybe I'm just not right for them. And that's what I think now. I just wasn't right for them. They had their whole way of doing things, and that's not how I do things. I'm not somebody that likes to like stand up in front of people and read off this script to people and stuff, and not to like sound like that's a bad thing, but that's just not what I do. I just want people to connect with me. It's not so much about the words, it's about it coming from the heart and people being able to relate to me, like the energy behind it. And
Like you
then,
don't, sorry to interrupt, but you don't need a script when it comes to that, because you're speaking your truth.
Yeah.
It's not a piece of paper with writing.
yeah, exactly. And then, like, fast forward, I got so many messages in my email from Jack.org, like, oh, can you do this conference with us?
Oh shit! Sorry, we meant to. Oh
Yeah.
damn it!
And they probably don't even remember that that I did that with them. But my name started to get out there, and then I just got all these messages, and I would just ignore their emails. Like, I have a ton of them in my email.
Haven't even opened them.
Big League and Jack.
Yeah. But this year I actually responded, and I was like, Yeah, let's do it. Because I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to make this like a personal thing because I know it wasn't personal. I know that I just didn't fit what they were looking for. And I know now that I do a lot of talks and I have relationships with these different organizations and stuff. I know that it's not this personal thing. They just want you to fit in with what they have going on. It doesn't mean that you're bad at what you do. It just means that it's not fitting into their thing. And I'm kind of glad that I don't fit into that. I'm glad that I have my own little lane that I stick to because it's different. Yeah.
I'm gonna teach my kids that exact thing that you just said.
Yeah.
Just stay in
Embrace
your
your
own lane.
lane.
Yeah, just stay in your own lane. And stop
Stay in your
worrying
lane,
about
pal.
everyone else. That's great.
That's true. That's awesome. You kind of, because I think so many people get discouraged because they're like, I
So
don't
wrapped
fit
up in it,
into
right?
this area. I don't fit in with this group. This doesn't feel right. This job. You know what? Maybe it's because you're supposed to do your thing
Yeah.
your way.
Exactly.
Why not? That's how I feel. So that was kind of when you were like, you know what? I'm gonna do my own thing.
Yeah.
Thanks, but no thanks. Is that when the idea for the Still Alive Foundation?
That
Kinda came
actually,
to you.
that came this year. Like,
Okay. Well,
because,
let's back it up then.
Yeah.
Where are we in the time frame?
We're around 2016.
Okay.
2016. Okay.
Around 2016. Around that time, I was just going. I was like doing the short film. Can't tell you exactly the date of that because everything
It's
was
all,
just together. It was like one thing after another. I did the short film. I did the TED Talk, and then I was doing a lot of my own like marketing, like trying to meet new people online and stuff, like social media marketing. I was like, there was this thing that I figured out on social media, just how to get your name out there on the internet. So I found these journalists that wrote for like Huffington Post, Fortune magazine, like all these different like prestigious places that you want your name to be. And I just reached out to them and would have like genuine conversations with them, like basically becoming friends with them on the internet. And I'm like, oh, and by the way, I do this, so check it out if you're into it. So that's how I got on to like top people that you should be following on Twitter, on Huffington Post, and then Fortune magazine. So, one of my internet friends put me on there, and I just started getting a bunch more like followers and people like emailing me, telling me that they love what I'm doing. And it was a lot of me putting a lot of work in with the public speaking, but also making sure that I'm also keeping these like relationships with people. Like I found some great people at like Global News and stuff like that, and it was like they were like my go-to people if I were to make a video or if I had a talk or something. Like I would just send them an email like, hey, I have this going on, just so you know, basically.
Yeah.
And it worked for me, and they felt that I had good things that I was talking about, so they would cheer me on different platforms, and that's a big reason as to why a lot of people started to get to know me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You put an emphasis on networking with people in the public sphere. That's really smart. I didn't even know you could do that. You just get a hold of some journalists, befriend them, and then they'll write about you. That is smart.
It doesn't always work.
True.
But if you're persistent,
Yes,
like
yes.
I was, and
So-
still am sometimes, it works. Yeah.
There you go. That's cool. Common theme is you will
63% of the time, it works all
all the time. Common theme is constantly putting yourself out there, no
Yeah.
matter what.
hmm
And it seems to be paying off.
Yeah. Even I remember having a moment where I was like, oh, I just have to put positivity out, and I can't let people see me when I'm depressed and stuff, because everybody else was doing that. So I was thinking that that was the wrong thing to do, like show people when I'm feeling down or talk about the things that I don't like about myself and stuff. But it came back to being vulnerable and realizing that people really just want to support people who are real, and they want to listen.
authenticity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people want that. People are craving that because there's so many
Phonies.
Well, just this
so
world we
many.
live in with politics and reality TV and
Yeah.
Instagram.
Instagram is
everything's
so fake.
artificial.
I think we've covered a lot of the hot topics that we were looking to discuss.
Hot topic.
That brings us to the. You would kill me if I did that to you. Just so you know. But take us into where things are in the last year or so.
Okay, so now I'm trying to take everything to the next level. I'm trying to inspire more people, and with the Still Alive Foundation, which I recently just started like a few months ago.
Very recent, all right.
Yeah, it's really recent. And I'm trying to bring in people from really around the world that inspire me, and just work on different ways to spread the message of ending the stigma around mental illness, and also trying my best to reduce the amount of suicide attempts. It's a really big task, and it's hard to say how you can end suicide. Like you can only try your best, and that's really what I'm trying to do with the Still Alive Foundation, is get great people together who really just want to try to inspire people and help people get through tough times and end stigma.
Chip away at that stigma.
Yeah.
I like that. Chip away at it.
I know you
one
looked at me.
voice,
You love those.
one voice at a time. Chip away.
Yeah.
And how did the name come to you?
It actually came from one of my favorite rappers, Vic Mensa.
Shout out Vic Mensa.
Yeah. He actually, like, we spoke on the internet before and stuff, like,
Oh,
about
right, cool.
about the stuff that I'm
Who
doing.
doesn't this guy know?
I've actually, yeah, okay.
people
I spoke
person.
to a few celebrities about my work and stuff,
Yeah.
but he's someone that, in his music, like, I just really can connect with it, and he always would say in his songs, Still Alive, it was just this thing that, I don't know if people notice it, but he always says that, like, still alive, and then he has a tattooed on his stomach, and he went through and still goes through like depression and stuff like that, and he speaks on panels for mental health and stuff, and we talked about what I'm trying to do and stuff, and one day I was actually, it's really funny, I went on my first date with my current girlfriend, and on our first date, we were like, let's get tattoos.
Oh, wild.
Yeah.
That's a first on BNV.
Yeah, so we went to get tattoos, and I was like, I want to get Still Alive tattooed on me. So I got it tattooed right on my collarbone here. And now I'm like, that has to be the name of the foundation, Still Alive Foundation, because I don't know, like his music just helped me get through so much stuff. And there's a few artists like that helped me get through a lot of things. Kid Cudi and Vic Mensa being the main people. So that's how the name came. Yeah, and because when I think about it, I don't know, it's cool. Even looking at the tattoo in the mirror, it's like, oh, I'm still here. Yeah,
still going.
We're happy you are.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that lets us know a lot about your journey so far. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the Still Alive Foundation. What are your plans moving forward with that?
Moving forward, right now I'm working on just planning everything out. Like I want to just have a clear plan on where I want to take it and different places that I want to do talks and different people that I want to bring on. Like right now, I'm talking to some people and like some really good people who are just really enthusiastic about helping people. And so it's going to be this foundation that goes around to different schools, companies, and organizations and spreads a message to help people. And while I'm doing that, I'm still going to be working on my filmmaking career and stuff.
I was wondering, are you going to ever kind of amalgamate the two?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Great word. Holy.
That was a great word.
Thanks, guys.
I don't even know if I can say that one.
What do you have any plans for? Because I know you said you want to do a feature film.
Yeah.
Any idea of what you kind of want a theme of that to be?
I'm thinking. I feel like it will be around the Still Alive Foundation and maybe documenting everything.
I was going to say, would you do a doc? Yeah.
That'd be a really good idea, actually. Just kind of follow you in your journey.
Yeah.
That'd be a great idea. And you just had a book come out.
Yeah. And
Never thought I'd get to say that.
Where can
out.
everyone go buy this book?
They can go on tylersimmonds.com or they can go on Amazon and just search Tyler Simmonds and it's there.
Don't let us down.
The one-stop shop.
Out there.
Make it happen.
Start buying that book.
But like all of these things that I feel I got some talent at, I try to merge them all together. So it's like even with the book, I'm like, okay, I can use the book to help me do public speaking and do public speaking based off of the book. Or I could even take the book and work on a film that's about mindfulness. And I just want everything that I do to just complement one another. Mm-hmm. So it just feels like one big thing instead of feeling like a bunch of all these other things that...
I like that.
One conglomerate instead of a ton of different little stores.
You don't want anything to be independent of one another. You want to have that synergy.
Yeah.
So, real quick, off the top of your head, what's the best piece of advice that you could give a listener that maybe wouldn't be able to pick that out of your story already? I mean, I've found quite a few pieces throughout listening to your story that I could probably use to benefit myself moving forward, but right off the top of your head.
Right off the top of my head, keep going.
Yeah?
That's the
keep
main
going.
thing.
Gotta love that.
Just keep going.
You know, it's funny. You have the Still Alive tattoo, and I quickly thought if I were to get a tattoo of like a, maybe not necessarily, it's like a lifestyle, like a, it's like a mantra. It's like what you live by. Mm-hmm. What is that?
Yeah, mantra. We'll give you that.
Okay. Keep going was mine.
Oh, really?
Thinking of that, just really quickly.
Oh, wow.
What I would do.
There you go.
Well, you just got to keep going, keep persevering, keep telling yourself that you've done this and that it's going to be okay. Like nothing.
Get back up on that horse.
Get back. Oh yeah.
So the book is it's about mindfulness. What's it called?
Living in this moment.
Living in this moment.
Yeah. And it talks about like how to use mindfulness in relationships, how to use it for like performance enhancement and being better at your job, things like that. Just it's really like kind of like a manual on mindfulness, because a lot of people say mindfulness or they talk about it, but a lot of people tell me I don't actually know what mindfulness is. Like, and if I could just put it in a simple way, it's really just being here. That's really what it is. Like, that's why I have "Be Here Now" tattooed on my arm, because whenever I look at it, it's a reminder just to be right in this moment.
Stay present.
Yeah, just being present.
I'm always curious when talking about being present why it's such a struggle for so many. Like, it's a huge struggle for me. I'm just curious why. Like, you know what I mean? That's where my
I think that's
curiosity
where,
goes. I'm like, why is that? Why doesn't that one come natural for us all?
I think that's where anxiety comes in if you're not present and you're thinking about something that's in the future, or you're thinking about something that's happened in the past. That's where you get anxious and you're like, oh shit, can't believe I did that, or oh shit, like I have to do these things.
Yeah.
So when you stay present, I mean, I assume I'm no expert here, it's a lot easier to manage those types of emotions.
Definitely. It's so much easier. And it's like, even like getting things done, like being creative, in relationships, just being right there. Like, think about if you're in a relationship and your partner's talking, but you can't stop thinking about these other things.
Right.
It can lead to like an argument or something, or
Can it?
oh, it definitely can.
Never experienced one of those.
But in my relationship, I don't have that many arguments anymore. I used to have arguments all the time in my relationships. In this relationship, it's like, it's almost too good to be true. Like, we never argue. And if we do, like, it's over pretty fast.
Yeah.
But I think it's because we both are just very present. It's just me and her. Everything else, like, I try to put my phone someplace else. I try to not think about the future or the past, just this moment. And
That's a great point.
I feel like that's when we have our best moments, when we're just fully there, present. Yeah.
I love it.
That's how it goes. I think we got a pretty decent idea of what you got going on there, Tyler. What do you think there, Ben?
I think we've covered it all. I mean, early childhood, North Preston, till now, still alive.
Yeah.
Nice.
Love that.
I don't know if you meant to do that. Just
I really didn't.
It was like a double entendre.
That was really good.
That's what I'm here for, guys.
Attaboy. Good for you.
Natural. Didn't even realize it. Still don't realize it, if I'm being honest with you.
Hey,
What did I do?
You're just a natural. You're like Gretzky. You just play the game.
Oh, was it you telling me that great Gretzky story?
I don't even know why I said Gretzky. We're not getting into a Gretzky story right now.
As soon as Tyler leaves.
All right, Tyler. We want to say, thanks again for coming on. It's an incredible combo.
Yeah, it was
And
great finally meeting you, honestly.
Yeah.
Very, very excited to do so, but
we had heard your name before.
yeah.
You came
Oh,
on.
you did?
Oh, yeah, he's got a bit of a celebrity status around these parts.
I told you, I did watch those TED Talks before I even knew who you were.
Oh.
There you go. Love it.
It used to be huge, TED Talk.
You do, you watch those a lot back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, well, that's a cool fun fact from Ben there, but I think we'll end it on that note. For Brand New View, I'm Mark.
I'm Ben.
See you next week, folks.
Cheers.
I was the same old me. I was the same old me.